Hello everybody, Bob Lusk, the Pond Boss. So I thought I'd start off talking about smallmouth bass because, my learning curve, there's Ron Krisman. I just telling everybody that we popped in and got to visit with Ron today, and Ron's cracking the nut on growing smallmouth bass. They can spawn like crazy there. So Ron has got several really cool it's like a hatchery pond set up, but not exactly like it. And he's got a couple of ponds with mixed species, but he's really dialing in on smallmouth bass. And the dilemma is, what do I do with them? And we talked about that for a little bit. But let me tell you the first thing that I want to talk about. We fished on the Green Bay side of Lake Michigan, then on the Lake Michigan side, in some different bays and river stream systems, things like that. Well, the smallmouth bass look like they come in and they spawn, and I don't know where they come from or how far they go, but I can't imagine them going out very far, to get away from natural habitat. But when they come in and spawn, they're in there in pretty good numbers. So they come in, and this year the fishing guides we were with, who are from Texas, by the way, figuring out smallmouth bass in the Great Lakes. It sounds the way they were describing it as though those smallmouth bass had a rolling spawn. So they didn't all come in at once and spawn at the same time. Some came in, some lingered, some came back in. Those smallmouth bass looked like they were running in schools of similar size. What I noticed was that they would come in and they're spawning in water about 2 to 5 feet deep. Even though they were through spawning when we got there, you could still see the remains of nests. And you can see that water's pretty clear. Wearing polarized sunglasses, you can see really, really well. Well, there's a river called the Mink River that comes in, and where we fished for 3 or 4 days. And the water, I wish I'd have had a water test kit, because the water looks like it's coming in tannic. And then there's a line between the green water from Lake Michigan and that tannic water where that river's coming in. And right along the edge of that tannic water and just up in it, that's where we caught the most fish. Most of them were pretty small. But then the good fish that we caught, you could tell those fish had been through some battles. They had scars, they had some sores and things, so you could tell they're coming off the spawn. But then finding them after the spawn was random. So it was just, we didn't know where they were. We went out in water as deep as 25 feet deep trying to mark them on sonar, side scan, and forward-facing sonar. Found very few fish, and we found very few bait fish. Now, another thing is, hey, honey, what were those bait fish? Yeah, the little one, gobies. So gobies are invasive species, but that looks like the primary source of food. Oh, and by the way, this is kind of cool. I hooked a goby that was about 4 or 5 inches long, and I wanted to see what they ate. So I cut that goby open. I didn't have a knife, but our guide had a pair of scissors. So we opened it up, and guess what was in the belly of that goby? Zebra mussels. Little bitty zebra mussels. So that was pretty cool. So one thing I've noticed, that one of the differences between largemouth bass and smallmouth bass is when the smallmouth come in and they spawn, then they're done. And then now, of course, this year they had a rolling spawn, it looks like, which I'm not sure that's normal. Rolling spawn means that some come in now, some come in later, but when they finish, they vacate the premises and they go a long way off. I don't know where they went, but they were not in those 500-600 acre coves where they'd been stacked in there just before we got there. So fishing was fun, catching not so much good, but we had a whole lot of fun. So Virgil, can smallmouth bass successfully spawn with the presence of largemouth? So here's the answer to that. Yes, they can spawn. The success is going to be determined by what eats the babies. And with largemouth bass in there, survival rates are going to be really, really, really low. So that leads me to Ron Krisman's place. So Ron has got conditions that are conducive to very good spawns of smallmouth bass. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, Ron, you might chime in on this, is that it looks like the majority of his smallmouth bass spawn about the same time. I bet you within 2 weeks of each other. Ron, you can offer some thoughts into that. But one thing about it is his attrition is pretty high. So it does look like he's either got some cannibalism going on or not enough food to go around, and some of those little fry are running out of gas. And of course, if when a baby fish is first hatched, if it doesn't have something to eat about every 30 minutes, it's got no stored body fat, has no energy, has very little flesh, so it can starve to death really, really fast, like within a day or two. One thing I noticed about Ron's ponds is the water quality, the water color in each pond was slightly different. And he's noticing the clarity of the water and the fertility of the water is having a significant impact on survival rates of his baby fish. Another thing he's trying to figure out is how does he count them? How do you get some kind of an idea how many you've got? So what Ron's trying to figure out, he's got to go through another year of testing, I think he said, to figure out what it is that he can do with the state of Michigan to allow him to sell fish that he's culturing on purpose. And he's got the Dale Hollow strain. That's a pretty significant deal too. That's something that's pretty unique. And those fish have been tested and verified. Matter of fact, Kenny Sanderson did that with him. So, trying to crack the nut on smallmouth bass in the Midwest and northern ponds, you really have to minimize predation from and competition with largemouth bass. And that's not easy to do. It's really hard to do that because the largemouth bass dominate them. The behavior patterns are totally different. Smallmouth bass are limited by the size of their mouths, but they're a little bit more timid. But when they fight, oh my gosh, it's like trying to pull a locomotive around a corner, where largemouth bass are not quite like that. So Ron says his fish spawn 2 to 3 weeks in mid to late May, and then they're done. They're up at Lake Michigan. Looked like their spawn lasted 6 or 8 weeks total. All right, Michael loved the smallmouth bass pond. I started for a buddy, 2.5 acres, no largemouth, no walleye. Okay, no largemouth, walleye, gills, red ear, and yellow perch. Okay, I'm not sure, no largemouth, but does that mean you have walleye, bluegill, red ear, and yellow perch? If you have that, 3.5 years old. Hopefully soon we see proof of smallmouth ponds. As of this early spring, only catch the original ones I stocked in the fall of 23. They need to be smallmouth bass, in my experience, especially in the Midwest and the further north you go, they got to be at least 3 years old before they can begin to reproduce. Now, and the further south you go, the faster they grow. It's a lot of that's about how big they are. They got to get to 12, 13, 14 inches before they really start to reproduce. Hey, thanks for stopping by the Pond Boss YouTube channel. Be sure and share it. Click like. And by the way, Pond Boss Magazine, $35 a year, cheaper than a Friday night date, and it lasts a year. Hope you enjoyed this intel, and we got more on the horizon. Adios for now.
Hey, Mr. Pond Boss, tell me what to do to make all my Lunker Lake dreams come true.